Hello and welcome to Level 3 Corporal. Today we're going to be working with solving equations with fractions. Our objective here, slash our goal, is to solve equations involving fractions. This would be a good time to take out your goal sheet and make sure you write this down for Level 3. If you scroll down, you'll see we have the AP question here. Go ahead, answer it, and we can come back to it if you have any questions. So, for this section, we do not have any new vocabulary words, so you don't have to worry about writing anything down, but we do have new information and procedures. So, when you're solving equations containing fractions, there are two different procedures that you're going to follow. They're both actually pretty similar. There's just one additional step with the second one. So we're going to go through these, and if you have any questions again, make sure you ask in class. So, for procedure 1, to start off, you're going to locate the fraction and start by working on that side. So let's just say we have x over 2 equals 6. So we can see that x over 2, which is our fraction, is on the left-hand side. So we know we're going to work on that side. So we're going to go to step 2, which says eliminate what is attached to the variable by performing the opposite operation, which in this case is going to be multiplying the denominator. So you must do this to both sides of the equation. So just like solving one-step and two-step equations, whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other. So to get rid of our 2 in the denominator, we're going to multiply both sides by 2. And when we do that, we end up with x on one side, and 6 times 2 is 12. Step 3 for this procedure says, like solving regular equations, once the variable is by itself on one side of the equation, you are finished. Again, the variable must be positive and your answer written in lowest terms. So you could, since we did have x on one side and you had 6 times 2, we would want you to simplify that down by doing the multiplication. So you always want to make sure you're doing everything that you can to get it into the simplest terms possible. So that's procedure 1. For procedure 2, it's going to start off very similar. Locate the fraction and start by working on that side. Now with this procedure, there's a little extra step that you're going to have to take. So this is what our equation is going to look like for this step, for this procedure. So you're going to locate the fraction. We can see again that the equation or the fraction is on the left-hand side of the equation. Step 2, you're going to eliminate what is not attached to the variable by adding the opposite value. And again, you must do this to both sides. So when we're looking at the equation on the board, the one thing that's not actually attached to the x over 2, which is our fraction, is that positive 3. So in order to get rid of that positive 3, we're going to add by the opposite. So we're going to add a negative 3 to both sides. So we will end up with x over 2 equals 4, because 7 plus negative 3 equals 4. From here, it's just like the first procedure. You're going to eliminate what is attached to the variable by performing the opposite operation, which again is multiplying the denominator. From here, when you do that, you're going to do that to both sides again. So multiply by 2, multiply by 2. So we get x alone, which is exactly what we want. We always want to get that variable alone. And 4 times 2 is 8. So, and again, just like solving the regular equations, once the variable is by itself on one side of the equation, you are finished. Again, variable must be positive and the answer written in lowest form. So we're going to go through a couple examples. So you always want to make sure when you're looking at the equation that you are given, you choose the correct procedure to follow. It shouldn't be too hard because as long as you have just a fraction, you know, all you're going to have to do is multiply by the denominator by both sides, and then from there you're able to solve it like a normal one-step equation. If you have that extra little piece that's not attached to the variable, you will have to do the opposite or the inverse operation for that, and then you'll be able to solve the equation. So the first example that we have is negative 6x over 9 equals 12. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get rid of the piece that's not quite attached to that x. So technically it's negative 6x over 9. So what we're going to want to do is multiply each side by that 9. When we do that, the 9 will cross out on the left-hand side, and then we'll get 9 times 12 on the other. So we'll end up with negative 6x equals 84. From here, you want to get x by itself. So to do that, you're going to divide both sides by negative 6. So when you divide negative 6 by negative 6, you end up with just x. And then on the other side, you're going to have 84 divided by negative 6. When you divide 84 by negative 6, you end up with x equals negative 14. And just like in all of our other previous equations, you can go back and put this x value right back into the equation just to verify that you did it correctly. So let's do that right now. And you could always put the question mark just to see if they're equal, because right now we can't really tell if negative 6 times negative 14 over 9 is going to equal to 12. So negative 6 times negative 14 gives us 84, because a negative times a negative is a positive. 84 over 9, again, just keep the question marks. So 84 divided by 9 is 12, and 12 does equal 12, so we're good. Alrighty, so now we're going to go to the next example that we have. So for this one, we have 3x over 7 minus 4 equals 5. So in order to solve this one, remember, if we're going back to the procedures, we have to get rid of the thing that is not attached to the variable. So right now, we have the negative 4. So what I would do is I would add negative 4 to both sides, or add the opposite. When you do that, on this side that the negative 4 was already on, negative 4 plus 4 is going to give you 0, and 5 plus 4 will give you 9. So you're going to be left with 3x over 7 equals 9. And just like over here on the other side, what we're going to do to get rid of that denominator is we're going to multiply it. So we're going to multiply both sides by 7, and when we do that, we're going to end up with 3x equals 63. Now, we're going to divide both sides by 3 to get that x alone, and 63 divided by 3 equals 21. And again, just like before, if we want to do that, we can just go ahead and check it. We can multiply 3 times 21, which will give us 63. 63 divided by 7 is going to give us 9, and 9 minus 4 equals 5. Alrighty, so we have the final G question here. It says describe and correct the error in solving the equation below. So go ahead, take a look at that, and then just kind of describe on your goal sheet. Remember, we have the final G question space. Explain what happened and why you think it did. And then lastly, we just have the equation, or the following equations that you're going to have to solve. These are on our worksheet, and we will go through these in class.